The Florida Gators beat the Kentucky Wildcats on Saturday night, and that changes nothing about my opinion on Billy Napier's job status.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. Happy Victory Monday. I'm Brandon Olson. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with New York Giants on SI. Today's episode of Locked On Gators is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. And let's start this off with this again. I said it. I was like, I'm not going to be calling for Billy's job. I will start with this back-to-back weeks where the Florida Gators football players, the Florida Gators football team came ready to play and played straight up good football. Okay? I will acknowledge that was a big thing that Billy Napier couldn't do, right? Like that was one of the big complaints, that he can't get these guys ready to play week in, week out. And then, now we'll see as you get the tougher stretch of the schedule how that shapes up. However, for me, this doesn't change Billy Napier's job outlook. And this isn't me calling for his job. This is me saying that my opinion has not. It's redundant, right? Or it seems like I'm being unfair if after a win I go fire him right now. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just saying that I do still feel the same way, right? At the University of Florida, beating Kentucky is the bare minimum. Okay? Beating Kentucky is the bare minimum. That is absolutely one of the expectations that we hold of you. As the Florida Gators fan base, we expect beat Kentucky, beat Tennessee. We expect those things. Because again, I'm 28 years old. For the overwhelming majority of my life, I've seen that. Even when Florida's been in the dumps, I've seen them beat Kentucky and I've seen them beat Tennessee. So those are bare minimum expectations here, okay? And it also, if your opinion did change, that's on you not holding your word like that. I'm not going to go from he should be fired to never mind, keep him because of a win over a program you should beat. I've seen people on Twitter. I've had people in my comments. You change your mind about Billy yet? No. Again, beating a program that you should beat, beating a program that your program has historically mollywopped. No, that's not going to change my opinion here. And keep in mind, like my main stance on Billy Napier has, or my main stance on coaching, we'll say, has been in year 3. I don't know if you can tell, hey, this guy's a national championship coach. This guy's going to win us a national championship. I don't think you can tell that in year 3 usually, unless they do it in those first 3 years. Because I do think every year you have to re-ask yourself that question of, can this guy get us a national championship? So I don't think in year 3 you can always tell, hey, can this guy get us a national championship? I do think that in year 3 you can go, this guy won't win us a national championship. And that's, again, that's the bar that I set at the University of Florida. Like, that's the bar that I have my expectations for. You don't have to have the same bar. You don't have to have the same expectations. You don't have to have the same evaluation of Billy, okay? But my bar is, can you win us a championship? I don't think so. And I think in year 3, you can tell that. And I promise you that me being the person that I am, beating Kentucky, as dominant as a victory as it was, okay? As good a football game as your team played, as inspired a football game that your team played, because the Florida Gators went out there and played inspired football, and they put the beats on Kentucky, and they put the beats on Mark Stoops, and they put the beats on every single person in that organization, right? They did that. But I promise you, doing that isn't going to change my mind, okay? Like doing that isn't going to make me go, oh, he's still not good enough, and I'm not going to go, oh, wait, maybe he's got it here. I don't think that's reasonable, because again, that's you doing what you're expected to do, and you haven't been doing what you've been expected to do for now. This is year 3. So you're finally doing what you're expected to do. Great. Also, because I know there's going to be people that go, oh, you played inspired football and beat the crap out of Kentucky, and you played inspired football and almost beat Tennessee. 2 things. 1, I don't give a damn about almost victories, okay? I don't give a damn about that. 2, don't forget why you lost that game against Tennessee, because a lot of it fell back on the coaching staff. So again, great win against Kentucky. Absolutely dominant win, blowout win. 48 points, the most that a Billy Napier-led Florida Gators team has scored against a Power 4 program, against an FBS program. Okay? This was without a doubt the most dominant victory that Billy Napier's had over an FBS program since he got to the University of Florida. Okay? However, again, for me at least, that's the expectation against Kentucky. Okay? That's why it doesn't change anything for me. I still think that he's not the coach to get things done. And I just want to make that clear, because we are going to spend the rest of the show talking about a lot of the positivity that we saw on that game on Saturday. And don't forget the Saturday night post-game show, the postcast, we spoke about it. And I was like, hey, I'm not calling for his job. I'm not calling for his job today, okay? I'm just saying my opinion hasn't changed about him. And it's as simple as that. After the bye week, though, you look at the remainder of the schedule: Georgia, at Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, at FSU. 2 important things there. You are 2 wins away from bowl eligibility. You are the significantly better team in the game against Florida State. You can sneak away with a win, if you can sneak away with a win as an underdog in any of those other 4 games, and you do what you're supposed to do against Florida State, you're going to be bowl eligible. You've got games coming up with the newest top 25 rankings, which I'll pull up right now because they came out yesterday. So we'll pull out the latest college football top 25, the AP ranking. You've got games against number 2 Georgia, number 5 Texas, number 8 LSU, and number 18 Ole Miss. You got those games all remaining. You've got ample opportunity to change people's minds. Because again, the bar is no longer just, hey, do what you're supposed to do. The bar is prove us wrong that you can take this program to where it needs to be and prove that you can take this program to greatness. And again, I know that there's a lot of buy-in. Guys are playing inspired football right now. You've got opportunities to change people's minds. Okay, I've always said, like, I'm an open-minded person. I'm willing to change my mind on things, some things, but beating Kentucky, sorry, that's not gonna be part of it. That changes that. That's the bare minimum expectation. That's not changing my mind about Jack Diddley. We are about to talk about the offense, which, again, 48 points total combined. I know defense pressure. We'll talk about all of it. But hell of a game by the offense. We'll talk about that next on Locked On Gators. ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking, and here's how it works. when you drink. Alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. So pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make ZBiotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. You guys know on Saturday night when we did the postcast, you could hear the people at my house screaming, going nuts. I don't know what the hell they were doing there, but we were having a good time, right? Let's just say I woke up Sunday morning feeling perfectly fine. Drank ZBiotics. Had my fun. I'll say that. Had my fun. Woke up on Sunday and felt perfectly fine. Go to zbiotics.com/LockedOnCollege to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use Locked On College at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with 100% money back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money. No questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/LockedOnCollege and use code LockedOnCollege at checkout for 15% off. Team Ticker is the one-of-a-kind sports sign for college sports fans. Team Ticker is a 1.5 feet. I could just slide out the way and show you. Is a 1.5 feet by 2 foot wall sign featuring the Gator logo. There you got Albert right there, and a cool retro-looking LED display. Display is updated daily with fresh content such as countdown to the next game. Which right now we've got basketball is showing up on there. So obviously, it's not showing the football game right now, but you can change it on your phone at any point you want. So you've got that super fun, and also you can play the fight song. I'm not gonna do it; it's really loud, and so I'm not going to do it. But you can play the fight song. I play it throughout the whole house, just randomly, because it's fun, right? It's fun, it's loud. You get updated stats with football, baseball, basketball, softball, women's basketball, all the Florida Gator sports. Right on Team Ticker right there. Each sign is officially licensed, meeting high quality standards, and is assembled right here by hand in the U.S. So Team Ticker is the ultimate addition to your Florida Gator sport collection. And Team Ticker is a one-of-a-kind sports sign. Go to teamticker.com and use code LOCKEDON to receive $50 off your first Team Ticker purchase. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free reviews in the podcast and on YouTube. And we'll start by talking about the Florida Gators offense. And I'm going to talk about this again because I do think that it can't be overstated here, okay? The way that DJ Lagway ran was awesome. Like, that was what you needed. And I'm not trying to harp on his legs. I know he's not Anthony Richardson. I know he's a very capable passer. Hell, I said last week, I was like, if Kentucky wants to force him to throw the ball, that's fine by me. Like, they're going to try to do that probably. That's fine by me. I don't care about that. I trust his arm. Like, I trust DJ Lagway's ability to actually throw consistent, accurate passes. That doesn't concern me. What did concern me was the way that he ran was a bit reckless while Graham Mertz was still around. And even in the Stanford game when Graham Mertz was not there. But against Kentucky, DJ Lagway, first play of the game, runs, slides. We saw it a lot when DJ Lagway took off running. He would slide or go out of bounds. That's what we need. Like, that's what you need from your true freshman, now starting quarterback for the remainder of the season. I understand you're 6'3", 240, can bowl people over. I get that. I respect that. And there's a time and a place. Okay? You know, you're scrambling on third down, fourth down. If you're scrambling, hell, I don't care if it's first down, if you're on a drive to try to win the game, take the lead, whatever it may be. There's a time and a place to try to truck, try to juke, try to do whatever. But for the most part, you should be sliding, getting out of bounds, protecting yourself. And DJ Lagway did a hell of a job with that. I will also say this. We spoke about split zone read last week. We did. I'm not going to do the whiteboard. But we spoke about split zone read. And I posted the clip of split zone read. And I know that a lot of Florida Gators fans were like, because it was Anthony Richardson running it. And a lot of Florida Gators fans were like, oh, but DJ Lagway is not the same athlete as Anthony Richardson. He can't run that play. He can't do this. He can't do that. They ran it, and they ran it on the first drive. They ran split zone read. It was just a handoff to Jaden Ball because that was the proper read, okay? So we saw split zone read. I wasn't really asking to see it. I was saying we need to see it. We're going to see it. And the Florida Gators against Kentucky, there were quite a few RPO run pass options and just straight up option zone read. There were quite a few looks there that the Gators went to. They did. You look at the first drive, there's quite a few plays you'll see where DJ Lagway's he's at the mesh point with the running back and he's staring somewhere else. And it's like, well, he's not doing that for fun. He's making that read. Okay. What Kentucky did quite a bit was force you to hand that ball off. And it didn't work out in Kentucky's favor at all because Jaden Baugh beat the crap out of them. Jaden Baugh tied a Florida Gators record for most rushing touchdowns in a single game with 5. He tied Tim Tebow and Trey Burton. So Kentucky was like, hey, yeah, forcing them to hand it off. And boy, that did not work out for them. Jaden Baugh, 22 carries, 106 yards, 5 touchdowns there. Great running. Of his 106 yards, 50 of them came after contact. Hell of a game by the hell of a game in the first game ever where Florida started a true freshman starting quarterback and running back in the same game. Okay, so Kentucky was forcing Florida to hand the ball off whenever they made their reads, and that's fine. The point of the option is to take what's best there, right? It's not supposed to go, oh, hey, we want to get DJ Lagway running the football. Let's run the option. Like you could just run QB blast, power, whatever you want to run there. But they're running the option, and they're saying, hey, if you're going to play undisciplined football, I'm going to take off running and make a big play there. And you saw that a couple times. Florida did that at Kentucky, forced them to hand the ball off, and it worked for Florida. And I expect to see way more of the RPO and the option because it is the advantage when you have a dual threat quarterback. And DJ Lagway is a dual threat. He's not a running quarterback. He's a quarterback that can run. And that's the big difference. That's where he opens up as a true dual threat. And I said this after the game because I know I've seen some people talk about it on social media or whatnot of the 50% completion percentage that DJ Lagway was 7 for 14 passing. And that's not sustainable. And that's not this. That's not that. Here's the thing. I don't have an issue with it because DJ Lagway went 5 for 7 throwing the ball 20 yards downfield or further, 20 or further yards downfield. I don't have much of an issue with something like that. Like, yeah, I understand the completion percentage. I do. I get when people go, oh, you got to take the dink. And here's the you do. You do have to take the underneath stuff when it's there. I do think that a lot of DJ Lagway's passes that were downfield were also there. And when you have a quarterback like DJ Lagway and you give him the option of, hey, do you want to take this short pass that's there or the deep pass that's there? Obviously, even though it's there, deep pass is going to be harder. But DJ Lagway is the kind of quarterback that's going to go, yeah, I'm going to take the deep pass that's there every single time. That's what I'm going to do. And I don't have an issue with that. Again, that's the kind of quarterback he is. That's fine with me. If you can do it successfully, that works fine. I will say, I would like to see the offense. Again, I mean, oh my God, it gives me such a headache. It does. It sends me into a spiral. I don't have so much of a problem with Florida running the jet motions and the reverse bluffs. Okay, I really don't. The issue that I have with them is that you don't hand the ball to them there. Run the pop pass or tray. Like you fake it all the time. Run it occasionally. Hand it off on the reverse occasionally. Make opposing teams respect that, hey, they might actually do it. And then you'll be able to create big plays off of that. But like I don't get the point of faking it every single time. If you never do it, you're not threatening anything. And when you do it, like when you hand it on the reverse, even if it works or not, teams are going to start respecting it. And then you can, what you can do? You can fake the handoff and throw it deep. Like you can try to lure them into some things. But again, this is a thing where I've said it before where it's like people go, oh, chess, not checkers. We're putting checkers pieces in Connect 4 boards. Like that's what we're doing. I don't know what the point is of these motions other than kind of telling you what the defense might be doing. But at this point, you also do it so frequently that, like, I can line up and I can say, hey, we're going to be playing this coverage, but line up on that side because they're going to send Trey Wilson in motion. And then we'll just play the defense. I will prepare to play defense post that motion. And I think teams can do that against Florida because I do think it's that predictable. But that's why I'm saying hand it off every now and then. Make them respect it. Make it a threat. I know that we've seen quite a few times where you've done it and it hasn't worked. You still have to do it and try to make that a threat so that when you fake it, they might come up and respect it. But if they know, hey, they're not actually handing this off ever, there is no point in doing it. It's useless. Be better, right? Speaking of getting better, we will talk about the Florida Gators defense, which has been playing lights out, next on Locked On Gators. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Basketball season's coming up. I'm just saying, I know injuries are starting to pile up a little bit, but my Knicks looking pretty good this year, or hopefully going to be pretty good this year. On paper, they look pretty good this year, all right? They could be pretty nice. Same. Might have to go catch a few games at the Garden this year. Ready for my heart to be broken. Just know that. But it's not just basketball. You can get baseball when baseball comes back around. Not many teams left. Not one. Football. Still plenty of football to be played. College sports. I said concerts. I've gone to 4 concerts this year through Game Time. Or 3 with a 4th one coming next weekend. All through Game Time. So you can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free reviews in the podcast and on YouTube. And first things first here. I'll give you a little clap. For the secondary. Secondary just played inspired football on Saturday night. I understand it's Kentucky. They're a pedestrian passing attack. Secondary played good regardless of that. Cormani McClain. Whew. Cormani McClain, pick 6. And here's the thing. That pick 6 felt like one of those moments where you go, that's what makes college football so cool. Because that's what makes college football so damn cool. Of the pick 6 and everyone just mobbing Cormani McClain in the end zone by the fan. And he's jumping into the crowd, like he's Lambo leaping in Gainesville. Like it was just one of those moments where you just go, college football is freaking awesome. Everyone seemed so happy for him. I don't care about Billy Napier's comment afterward about, let's dial it back, or basically the nonsense that he said. I don't care about that. And I'm someone that's been critical of Cormani. I'm not going to talk. Like, hey, if you're making plays like that in your Florida Gators debut, oh, come on now. Like, that was just, again, one of those moments where you go, this is what makes college football so cool. It's just the energy, that passion that you don't get at any other level. I don't care what team you're a fan of at the NFL. I don't care about any of that. You don't get that level of passion at any level other than college football. Like that's the best of the best. And that Cormani moment is one of them where we just go, oh, that's just incredible. Of course, with that Cormani moment comes the unfortunate Jason Marshall Jr. injury, which we'll hopefully be getting more information on, but went to the locker room, came back. I'm assuming arm in a sling. He had like one of the big jackets on, but looked like his arm was in a sling through that. Hope he's back. Like I said, he played this year. He put out a lot of good film. I will say that, regardless of his health status for the remainder of the season, Jason Marshall Jr. put out a lot of good film this year. And NFL teams will care about that. And when he's healthy to test and he tests well, and they pair that with the film, and they pair that with, he seems like a nice person. Like he doesn't seem like he's like head up his rear end or anything like that. So I do think that he's helped himself make a lot of money with the NFL this year. The defense in general did a really good job of getting into throwing lanes. Like you can watch the game, and from the moment they start playing on defense, they're trying to get into the throwing lane. Cam Jackson on the first drive had the batted pass at the line of scrimmage. Killed a lot of momentum, it felt like, early. Like, I don't know, something about that just felt like they're like, oh, like we're going to be dealing with this now. That same drive, Shamar James comes in off the blitz, right up the middle, rushes in. Brock Vandagriff, like, kind of gets ready to start throwing, and Shamar just jumps into the lane, and Brock Vandagriff pulls it down and then throws again. But Shamar jumping into that throwing lane, into that throwing window, and closing that throwing window, that forced the pump fake, threw off the entire timing of the play. And when Brock Vandagriff actually threw the ball, nothing happened from it. Like it was just, he threw it kind of to grass. And that was set up though by Shamar coming in and jumping into the throwing lane and causing that hesitation. Also in the first quarter, maybe second quarter, in the first half, George Gums dropping in zone coverage, deflected a pass. I think, regardless of whether or not this actually happened, George Gums, great play on the ball. I think Cam James got a finger on the ball at the line of scrimmage too. Because if you watch it again, you see him start to throw the ball, and you see Cam James just like reach across, and it looks like he might have just a little bit of a tip of a finger on that ball as well. I don't think that it really did anything. So I do think it was such a minor pass. But again, I care about that kind of stuff. Like I care about getting into the throwing lanes at the line of scrimmage and making the quarterback's life harder, because that's your job as a defensive lineman. Like I know everybody's going to go, oh, get sacks. Like that's what you have to do. But so much of your job is create pressure. So even if you're not getting sacks, create pressure, because you can force a bad pass interception. With the pressure, you could still get a sack. You could force him and make the quarterback run into another sack somewhere else. You can do so much. Your job is to make his life harder. If it's getting a sack, if it's just generating pressure, great. But also the more, I want to call it the more nuanced part of rushing the passer is that if you are not winning your rep, get your hands up, get your hands through the line of scrimmage, through the throwing lanes, make that harder. Like, because that's a realistic thing of, you're not going to win every rep. Sometimes there's going to be a stalemate. Sometimes you're going to lose. You're not going to win every rep. So when you are engaged with someone, just get up. Like if it's like, oh, like I'm not beating him, or if they're getting rid of the ball quickly, they're looking for slants. Get your hands up and force an incompletion. Force some kind of bad play, negative play, no gain, whatever you want to call it. Do that. And Florida's defense did that a lot against Kentucky. I mean, that's one thing that I really love watching a defensive line. And that's kind of, honestly, that's one of the things where I judge a player or I judge a coach. If I see a whole defensive line doing that, I'm like, okay, they're being coached to do that. And that's good coaching. If I see a player do that, like that's when I evaluate, because again, I got my start in media covering the NFL draft. I still cover the NFL draft for New York Giants on SI. I talk about a lot of these, like when I evaluate these players and I talk about these players, I understand I'm lowering the level of quality that's needed. But that's still something I'm looking for when I'm doing player evaluations. I'm looking, if you're a defensive front player, I'm looking at, do you get your hands in passing lanes? And if you do that, I love it. And so Florida's defense did a lot of that on Saturday, and I loved it. Kentucky's one passing touchdown came on a flea flicker. I don't get overly upset about those things because, again, I don't think that's a consistent thing. They're not going to keep running flea flickers. So it's like, oh, yeah, they gave up that one big gain, and it sucks, and you should go back and film and say, hey, let's recognize this for next time, and other teams probably going to try it against us since it worked this one time, all that stuff. But I don't think that it's a thing to really get too mad about at the time that it happened, it felt crappy because it was like, oh, here it goes. Things might be coming downhill. But I don't get overly upset about one play and allowing a score on a trick play. They're trick plays for a reason, right? The Florida Gators defense did a really good job against Kentucky of not missing tackles and not having tackles broken. But I did have an issue with it. Felt like there were too many plays where Kentucky ball carriers were picking up yards through contact, always falling forward, or not always, but falling forward frequently and kind of just dragging for a few yards, things like that. That happened a little bit too much for me. Like Kentucky had 145 rushing yards total, 95 of them came after contact. That's too much. And I'm looking at the PFF numbers, so it's sack adjusted. It's taking away sacks. So if you look at like ESPN rushing numbers, they're different. But yeah, I think that having 145 rushing yards, good defense, but 95 of those coming after contact means that you were getting there early a lot and not finishing the play early a lot. And so I think that happened just a little too much. Which also I will say this. That was one of my things that I spoke about with like DJ Douglas at Tulane. I was like, oh, he's missing tackles in the group of 5. SEC teams will cook him with that. I said that at a lot of levels when you're playing against Samford, when you're playing against Charlotte, when you're playing against any of that, I bring that up. You did that against an SEC team. Like SEC players are going to pick up yards after contact. So I'm not killing people for that. I'm not being too harsh on them for that. That was just something that I didn't like too much and could be worse when you face better SEC talent. But it's also, I think of it as the next thing to clean up because you've improved tackling, you've improved gap discipline, you've improved gap assignments, you've improved a lot of that. Now the next thing, gang tackling needs to happen more because again, that's one of the ways you stop that. So gang tackling has to happen more, and driving your feet through a ball carrier has to happen more for the Florida Gators. But again, like this was a hell of a performance. We are still going to talk about things that need to improve. We did it when Florida upset Utah in 2022. I came out here that day and I was like, hey, great win, awesome win. These things need to be cleaned up though, because that's something that should be talked about. We could celebrate victories while also acknowledging, hey, it wasn't a perfect game. Things you do need to improve. And now you've got a bye week to work on those things. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever in the podcast and on YouTube. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olson. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with New York Giants on SI, and I'll see you all next time.